They are phenomenal. They are amazing. Make some noise for Susan Eisenberg and George Newbern. Center stage. You are the reason we are here. Gently,
Very careful
gently.
of the chairs.
Super.
Hey. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Woo! So fun. And next to the beer tent. Look at that.
Absolutely.
Next to the beer tents.
So, good afternoon. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent.
So far, so good.
Thank you.
I love it. Obviously, we have a bunch of fans here, super excited to talk to you about your pivotal roles in this amazing series.
Yes.
This is a legacy piece, right?
Yes,
This is one that's coming off of Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series.
Yes.
And George, you're filling some shoes when
I
you're
know.
taking over here.
I know.
Big shout out to Tim Daly.
Tim
who
Daly
we love.
we love Tim. Tim's a friend of mine, and he was busy, and I was glad.
Hey! Sometimes that's the way it works.
That's right. I don't think he would have been busy if he'd known this was going to be. I'd be doing this 15 years later.
I mean,
he would have found the time to do it, but he didn't know.
Sometimes that's the way the cape flaps.
Exactly.
Okay? This is the way the cape flaps.
Exactly.
But to be able to bring these heroes to life, and these are true heroes. I mean, we're celebrating 85 years of Superman. Was it 82, 83 years of Wonder Woman?
Yep.
Fantastic. So when you get this role, what is it that you're aiming to bring to these characters?
Susan?
Oh, way to put her on first. Ladies first, of course.
You know, I was lucky because I was working with Bruce Timm and Andrea Romano,
To the mic. There you go.
and so they guided us, you know, so it was their vision of these characters. It wasn't like I had to come up with something from scratch.
Gotcha.
It was in Bruce's head what he wanted her to be and who he wanted her to be, and then it was my job to make her come to life.
And you did expertly. Like, seriously. How many of you are huge Wonder Woman fans?
Come on.
Is Wonder Woman your favorite? Yes, absolutely.
And the silky smooth vocal stylings of Susan Eisenberg. She
I'll
has
be
the
here always.
smoothest, silkiest
The
voice
dulcet
ever.
tones.
That's right. Dulcet tones. Exactly.
So, George, what did you want to bring? I mean, obviously, like I said, you're filling in shoes. So you have to make this character your own. What did you do to do that?
I'll tell you, when I got the audition, I wasn't even aware that Tim was doing it. I just wasn't watching. My head was somewhere else. It was just an audition out of the blue. And I thought it was a one-off. I thought it was an episode of the thing, and there was Superman was in it. I said, oh yeah, I'll go do it. So I do it, and then I get it, and I was like, oh wait, I'm replacing someone? And then, oh, it's gonna keep going?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea, but when I kind of wrapped my head around that, it was a little daunting, you know, to say you to take over for Superman. I mean, Superman is the strongest guy in the universe. So I tried to basically channel my older brother, he's an orthopedic surgeon and an Eagle Scout. So I thought of my brother every time, and my brother's always very sort of black and white about things, and he thinks it through, and he tells everybody what they should do. So that's kind of where I went with it. I didn't know what else to do, so that's what I did.
No, but that's love, though.
Yeah.
Did you ever tell your brother that that's what you were doing?
I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good job.
He
good
loved
job.
it. He loved it.
No, I would have kept that. As a little brother, I would never have given it up.
I
No
never
way.
given it to him.
Never, ever. Now, obviously, we have to acknowledge, last year, Kevin Conroy was a guest of this show.
Yes.
And we recently lost Kevin.
Yes.
To work with such a talent.
Yeah.
The voice that started it all,
Yeah.
right? What is a great story that you guys have of working with Kevin?
I know you've got better ones. Go.
You know, there's so many because we did so many cons together, and you know, we worked in the studio for so long together.
Right.
But I think my favorite thing of going out on the road with Kevin was when he would stand on the chair,
Yeah.
you know, and announce to the crowd
Yes.
that he was vengeance.
Yes.
I am vengeance. I am the night.
You know,
Yes.
and Batman, and then everyone would go nuts.
Of course.
Crazy.
And then he and I would be doing a panel, and then all of a sudden, he'd look over at me with such a glint in his eye, as if to say, you know what's coming next. And he would break into song, and he would start singing, Am I Blue?
Am I blue? Am I blue?
Am I
Oh my God, he
blue?
loved it. That guy.
I
Oh.
mean, you are the reason for him to sing like that.
That's
So,
true.
Exactly.
That's
That's
true.
right.
That makes sense.
And I never, you know, it always made me swoon. It always did. I mean, you know, I loved, he was the only Batman I ever worked with. And he was my Batman.
Absolutely. One more time for Mr. Kevin
Kevin
Conroy.
Conroy. We love Kevin Conroy.
Any fun stories of working with Kevin?
He was, when we first started recording, he had worked with Andrea, the vocal director, before, and I always remember it just, if there was a lull in the recording, he would always put his mouth at the microphone and go, Andrea. She would perk up and go, hi, Kevin.
When we had to do our levels, when we first got to the session,
Yes.
Andrea would get all of our levels. So you would have to just say anything. It didn't matter what you said, just so the engineer could hear, what the levels were. And every single time, Kevin would be like, Andrea.
Yeah. Really fun.
And she would just be like, woohoo!
We just laughed ourselves. The last con I think I did with him, we were in Albuquerque in this old hotel, this renovated...
Haunted.
In a renovated mental hospital that was now a luxury boutique hotel, but it was still scary as hell. I don't know. It was terrible. And by the way, the con in Albuquerque was terrible. No one was there. No one was even in Kevin's line. And we were all like, oh my God, this sucked.
Right. If Kevin doesn't have a line, you know it's a bad con.
If Kevin didn't have a line, it was a bad con. So we were there, we were hanging out. We actually ended up having a great time together. But the last night we were there, we were all so spooked out in this hotel, and I was saying, God, I felt really weird at night. Someone was in my room, blah blah blah. And Kevin said that someone was calling his room all night until like 3 or 4 in the morning and hanging up all night. We were all, remember that?
Yes.
We were in the lobby. We were so freaked out. That was one of the like creepy deals. Yeah.
Okay.
All night.
So never go to this place.
Never go to. I can't remember the name of it, but
any place that's spooky to Batman,
yes.
you don't go.
Yeah.
You just don't go.
Exactly.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now working with Andrea is such a talent when it comes to voice casting.
Yeah.
A true legend. She's actually one of my celebrity crushes. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Oh, she's great.
So tell us some of the fun stories of working with her, and what sort of dynamics does she bring out from you guys?
She's just everything in that recording studio. She helps guide you with the character. She helps create the scene.
Of course.
Tells you where you are in Themyscira and paints it for you. And then she helped me figure out how to be a princess and a warrior.
Right.
And to do that vocally.
Wait. She taught you how to do that? Like you're not already one?
I kind of was.
No, come on.
But to do it vocally and to make sure that it stayed consistent so that I wouldn't lose the warrior.
Gotcha.
And I wouldn't lose the toughness because I was an Amazon.
Right.
And she wanted me to have that all the time. She was our biggest cheerleader. She still is. We just saw her at Kevin's memorial.
Yeah.
And, she's still our biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
She is responsible for everyone's childhood here, who they got to see. And she just created an amazing space that you felt safe to play.
Of course.
And that's what she would call it. She'd say, okay, let's play.
I love that.
And we were so lucky. That's all. We were just so lucky.
We're the lucky ones as well. Absolutely.
And Andrea is one of those rare, in an animation, as a director, she's so good at describing the scene, because we don't know what's going on. We just see the pages with words on it, and she's narrating basically to us saying, and then this happens, and you run to Superman, and there's this giant boulder that's about to fall on your head, and Lex Luthor comes over, grabs you by the neck, and so she kind of sets everything up. She sort of lobs the ball at you, and then you kind of have to bat it away. But she's really good at telling you how to modulate, how close someone is to you, what kind of hit it is. You're giving a hit, how hard is it? There are kind of a lot of subtle things in animation that, as an actor in a live action, you can all do that yourself. But she's kind of the sort of the brain above all of it, saying, too much, too little, give me more, give me less, blah blah blah. So that's what I know. Andrea is so excellent at that.
I love it. I love it. Now, getting into your characterizations or portrayals, there were a few episodes where they were character specific. Do you have any favorite ones? They might have been Wonder Woman specific, the one at Themyscira, or ones that might have been a little bit more Superman specific, for the man who has everything type thing?
I guess I don't know which one. Was it the last one for Superman? He said he feels like he lives in a world made of cardboard.
Yes, Destroyer.
That's Destroyer. Is that the name of the
Yes,
episode? Yeah,
yes.
I love that.
I'm not
episode.
a fan. I'm not a fan. I've never seen it.
Yeah. And so that was my favorite episode. Susan?
You know, I have a few. I mean, for different reasons. Like Star-Crossed, I loved because we were all in it and
Yes.
we all got to play together. Maid of Honor, because I got to be like the older mentor kind of character. And then This Little Piggy is probably one of my favorites, written by the great Paul Dini. Because Kevin and the Piglet and
right.
Am I Blue? And we got to flirt and we got to have some banter, which was like my favorite thing to do on the show. And I loved every time I got to do it. And so and then the Once and Future thing, I love the animation to that. I love the script. Dwayne McDuffie wrote that episode.
Yes.
And it was just funny. It was just funny. And so, I mean, that's one of the brilliant things about the show. I mean, it had everything to it. It had the humor. It had the pathos. It had episodes where we could shine. And then it had the group of us together
Yes.
and letting us be a team.
One of the things that I loved as a comic book reader and creator was the way that they balanced power throughout the show. You all complemented one another, you know, despite the idea that Superman is, you know, so much more powerful in strength, but Diana could fight better than anybody. And the way that kind of match was wonderful. Did you guys ever have any insights or be able to say anything to the writers? Like, hey, I would like to see this happen with my character a little bit.
No.
No?
Well, I had a thing with the first season, I said, does Superman have to be electrocuted so many times? Can we knock it off?
It was a lot.
It was a viable way to put you
It's a
down.
lot.
Yeah.
It actually hurts your voice to scream like that.
No, but we didn't. If I had been writing it, you know, it would have been. I would have had more humor to the character. I would have had her banter more.
Right.
You know, but you're not the writer.
That's fair. That's fair.
And
That's
you're
fair.
dealing with some of the best writers in the business.
I mean, that is very true. That is
So
very true.
I'm not going to question, you know, JM or Stan Berkowitz or any of these guys,
true.
Dwayne. I'll defer to them.
More than fair. I do think that one of my favorite portrayals of you, or specifically as Wonder Woman, because you actually had very few lines in this one, but Grudge Match,
Oh,
where
yeah.
it was a knockdown, drag-out fight
Yes.
between the ladies. But what a great way to show how powerful
Yeah.
Wonder Woman is in the context of other heroes.
Mm-hmm.
As a woman in this business, as a hero, what did that give you, and what do you think that gave to fans that needed to see something like that?
It gave a lot to the fans, and I know that because it's so watched
Yes.
on YouTube. And that's always brought up, that scene, you know, and you hear the background, oh, it's Wonder Woman, you know, and you hear all that, and then you see everyone move away in fear.
Because they knew better.
Yeah, they knew better. And I think that was a great way, you're right, because
Yes.
it's not so wordy, but you show so much how strong she is.
Oh, just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, but the show is brilliant at that.
I love it.
You know, in small little ways and big ways.
Of course.
Showing who we were.
Of course, of course. Now, there are a ton of villains that you guys faced throughout the episode, or the seasons.
Yes.
Who were some of your favorite villains and the actors that voiced them?
Mark Hamill, Joker was.
Of course,
come on.
of course.
I loved him.
Gotta love Mark
Clancy
Hamill's
Brown.
Joker.
Clancy Brown, Lex Luthor.
Clancy
Come on.
is
probably one of my
And Clancy and I went to the same college together. So
Did you really?
Yeah, he's a little older than me, but he has the biggest head of anyone I've ever seen.
His head's very
So-
big.
He just says any word and his whole skull like vibrates.
That's because he's also, like I am, from Ohio, and
Yeah.
we grow big heads
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Ohio.
sure,
So,
yeah.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. If it's okay, I'm going to go down into
Yeah,
the
do it,
audience.
let's do it.
I
Questions?
love that.
Let's hear some.
Awesome,
Any questions?
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to come down with you guys. Is that cool? Okay, here we go.
I'm Baron bitte.
All right, I got to stay away from the speakers. Okay, we'll start down. Hello, Troya.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, I'm just really, really excited. It is so nice to meet you. Last year I got to meet Kevin Conroy, and it was probably the best day of my life. I cried a lot.
You know what? I can't. It's hard to hear her. Do you hear her okay?
Yeah, a little bit. Just stick it up closer to your mouth, maybe.
Got it?
There you go. Perfect. That's better.
Okay. once again, thank you so much. I'm so excited to meet you.
You too.
I got to meet Kevin Conroy last year, and I
Oh,
cried.
sweet.
It was probably the best day of my life.
Oh, that's so sweet.
He gave me a hug.
Oh.
So I asked him a question last year at his booth, and I would love to ask the same question. I am a musical theater major and an aspiring voice actor, hopefully. And I was just wondering, what kind of words of encouragement do you have as these legacy characters, just for people that are starting out or that feel like they can't do it?
When you say do it, you mean be a voice actor? Oh, I would say I was a musical theater person my whole life. So that I was a singer and a dancer forever. So, and I can hear your voice. You have a really nice, bright, sort of soprano sound. I would say if you're anybody who's interested in voice acting, to get in an acting class first and find out, what that's like to be an actor, and then after that, work on your voice. There are all kinds of exercises you can do for your voice, vocally, singing and speaking, and make a demo of your voice, doing different characters, learn accents, practice accents, so whatever you hear, whatever tickles your ear, try to imitate and mimic it. But get yourself a demo, and then once you have a demo, start sending it out. But the first thing you should do is get into an acting class, I would say, right, Susan?
Yeah, and so that's all the broad, that's very specific, what George just said, and I would say something very general, and that is, if it is your passion,
Yes.
and you love it, then you
Don't
just
give up.
don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up, exactly.
You just don't give up, because it is going to be hard. There are going to be big highs and some really big lows, and most people we know go a long time without working.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of doing what we do.
Yeah.
And if you love it and you feel like it's your life's calling, then just keep going.
And also, it doesn't mean that you have to actually pay your bills with it. There are jobs you do for money, and then there are jobs you do for passion, and they don't have to intersect. You can do them parallel to each other. So you don't give up on your passion, you just do jobs for money. That's okay. Sometimes you'll make a lot of money doing voiceover, maybe sometimes you won't. So,
Great question.
Hi, I'm so
Hello.
glad that you guys are here. You really did make my childhood.
Oh, thank you.
It was wonderful to see Wonder Woman. It was wonderful to see an alien.
yes,
That was
that's
pretty
right, Kal-El.
All right, so my question is, I got to see and hear you in Record of Ragnarok.
Oh
as
yeah, Hercules, yeah, cool.
So I was
Yeah.
wondering if you two were interested in doing more anime roles.
I would love to. I would love to.
Voices that we love and know.
We would
in
love
these
to.
wonderful shows.
Yeah, a lot of the anime is done in out of Texas, and it's if you want to know the truth, it's a non-union anime thing, and we're all in the union, so it's a lot of the anime work they don't allow us to do. So that's just what that is. But I'd love to do more anime, and hopefully it's the union anime work. So yeah. Hello.
Hi. I was wondering, what is the question that you were hoping to be asked today, and what is the answer?
We're supposed to save that to the end. That's such a good question.
I'm going to wait till the end,
I need to think about that
and
one.
then I'll get back to you.
I got to think about that.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I
I
can.
can.
Fantastic. I was actually listening to a podcast recently with Michael Rosenbaum. He described an evening at his home honoring Kevin Conroy.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I wasn't there. I had surgery on my mouth, but Susan was there.
It was just perfect. It was just it was not perfect because George wasn't there and Kevin wasn't there, obviously, but it was, Andrea and the cast, and Carl Lumley flew in for it. And having
Sean
Carl there was
Jones.
so special because he doesn't live in town anymore, and it's just very sweet to be able to see him.
I love Carl.
And we all told stories and we laughed, and I'd say the most emotional part of the night was we watched Justice League together. Michael has a huge screening room, and so it was like we watched HBO Max on this, huge screen, and I took video of everybody in the room and just their responses to watching Kevin and us and watching the show together, and it was very, very emotional. But it was a beautiful night, and Michael, he was a sweetheart to host that. He had us all over to do that.
It's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Well, this is my first con, and it's awesome to meet you guys.
Good to see
You guys
you,
are
man.
like the big reason why I'm such a huge nerd.
Oh, thank
so
you.
it's super awesome.
Thank
to
You're
meet you.
welcome.
I got kind of two questions. The first question is, you kind of went into it, but like, what is one of your favorite lines from the show that you felt like, yes, I am Superman, I am Wonder Woman. Like, what is like that line that made you go, yes, that's me? And the second question is a little lighthearted. Like, what would you say is your favorite fanship? I know my favorite one is Batman and Wonder Woman, but if you guys have your own favorite, I'd love to know.
Samesies.
Fanship.
I mean, I'm a Wonder Bat fan. Everyone knows it. I love them. And also, you know, I got to say Great Hera a lot. And I loved every time I got to say it. In fact, I think the writers put it in more scripts than it was necessary because they knew I loved to say it. That's that. I mean, it's short, you know, but it was repeated often, and I loved it.
A ship. I'm trying to think of a ship. Is there a famous ship like Super Lane? Maybe Super Lane, or Lois Man or Man Lois. But Dana Delaney was my Lois. Yeah, she's a great actress. She's really fun. I'm trying to think of my favorite quote. I really love sometimes I feel like living on a roll of cardboard because I just perfectly it sums up Superman because, you know, he's almost fully man, fully superhero, that kind of dichotomy. And he also, there's a quote that I don't know exactly. You could tell me something about it's not important to die in a way. It's more important to live. What is it? Live right than die right. What is it? He said it. I wrote it. Somebody help me.
You were pretty much there.
You know what I mean? It's more important to live instead of live right than die right or something like that.
This is solid.
Yeah.
Hello, friend.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Well, I was a little older when your show came out, but I loved it. I do wish, though, you had said as Superman, Great Krypton.
Great Krypton. Yeah. Great Krypton.
And
Yeah.
whenever I saw heard Kevin Conroy, he was Batman.
Yeah, he was.
Now,
100%.
Adam West and the others, they did
Sure,
good,
sure.
but he will always be among
Yeah,
the best
he really,
Batman.
no question. No question.
And do you guys ever miss doing the animated or?
We do. I would love to do. I mean, you know.
Yeah, we do.
All Warner
All
Brothers
of us
were
do.
available.
And, you know, I haven't made a secret of my desire for Warner Brothers to put us all back in a show or a movie even. Because, you know, as the actors, we meet all of you, we hear your stories, and we hear that we were a part of your childhood and that you maybe met these characters through the show. And to me, it always felt like a no-brainer to bring us all back together in a series or a movie, whatever, and to let the fans see us all again and hear us all again. So that, I do miss it terribly, yes.
One more, do you ever wish they'd have brought Wonder Woman's sister, Wonder Girl, into the mix?
Who's her sister?
Honestly,
Donna Troy or?
yeah, I mean,
Wow.
Donna, yes. Yeah, because that's part of her character. So, yes, that would expand it.
Maybe we'll save that for the animated Wonder Woman show. Let's just put that out there. Just put that out there.
Yeah, I think that will happen. I do. James Gunn is a big fan.
Yeah.
So, again, super awesome to see you guys. You know, I grew up watching you guys, and now our sons watch you guys. And
Cool.
everything. Super cool. Kind of piggybacking on what you were talking about, if Bruce Trim and all the writers got together,
Right.
and got you guys together, saying, "Hey, we're gonna, you know, revive this for another series, another season," where would you like your character stories to be at and go from here on out? Almost 20 years after the last one ended.
Huh.
That's a great question.
You know, also, the last line of the show was "The adventure continues." So I'm going to leave it to the writers to continue those adventures. Personally, I loved anything that took place on Themyscira, you know, and I loved dealing with Hippolyta. I loved all the sisters, the sisterhood. But if we're going to be fighting crime, then let's do it. Like, let's get that going. I mean, because, you know, we were kind of unstoppable. And then when you added Unlimited, forget about it. Forget about it.
I wanted more Clark Kent. I want to see more Clark Kent's home life.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Maybe I go with him, and then he comes with me to Themyscira.
Thank you.
Hi, it's a great honor to meet you. I was wondering, when you did Injustice, because that's such a radically different departure from how Wonder Woman and Superman trade, how hard was that from like going from this very heroic style of characters now this like almost conquering characters of like, wow, are these the Superman and Wonder Woman I've been playing all these years, or how hard was that?
Well, a video game, well, at least the performance of it is quite different than doing the animated series. It's much more technical, and it's cut in short pieces, so we didn't really know what the story was so much. But I thought Injustice was amazing. I sort of played the game badly. My son loved it, but I loved the experience, and I thought it was. What was it for you?
You know, I've heard so many fun things about the game because people love playing the game. For me, it was hard playing her that way. I grew up on Justice League. I mean, that was my thing, and I loved playing her heroically. It's not to say I don't like playing the evil character, but it was hard to have Diana be evil. And to have her relationship with Superman, what it was, and you know, the whole thing was, I made sure that the people behind that project, they owe me a good Diana project. Because I'm like, if I have to be this badass Diana throughout this whole thing, you've got to give me a heroic one too down the road. So maybe that's going to happen. It was hard. I'll be honest, I thought it was challenging.
Great question. Great question. Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Deanna.
Hi, Deanna.
I actually met Kevin Conroy back in 2019
Okay.
at Atlanta Comic Con.
Yeah.
He was so sweet.
Very.
I cried when he died. I was so heartbroken. That same year at the same con, I met Rob Paulson. So you might know where this is going. So recently, I rewatched your Talking Tunes episode with Rob, and I just noticed that y'all had so much camaraderie. Y'all had so much fun talking with him. I'm a huge fan of Rob.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, like, what was it like to, meet him, to talk with him, stuff like that?
He's sort of a legend. That guy's done everything.
Yeah, he's a legend.
So.
And you know, there are a lot of people who work in voiceovers, and then there are the legends who work in voiceover, and he's one of them. But beyond that, you know, I put the call out to do an interview because I was trying to get the Justice League Part 3 out there, and they could not have been lovelier. I mean, Rob, everyone said, absolutely, come on our show. And he was just the perfect host to all of us. He was so kind. He's just a good man.
Is he here this weekend?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
He's just you know, what you think of him when you see him in the videos and interviews and things like that, that's who he is. And he's a fighter. He's had to fight, obviously. And, you know, there's a decency to him. And I think, you know, that interview is always going to be one of my favorites because they were so generous, and he was so generous to do it.
Hello.
Nice to meet the both of you. Before I start, I actually want to let you know that I actually didn't know too much of anything about DC before the television show except for Batman. To me, Batman was DC. It was like a one-off thing. That's the only thing going on.
Yeah.
And then this television show comes up and it's like Superman. I'm like, what is that? Who is that? And I enjoyed it. And then later on, there was Wonder Woman and Flash and all the other people. I was like, there's more?
Yeah.
And then I wanted it, and then like my mind was gone. So I guess that's like the wonder of translating something from comics to television, because then you get more people into it.
Yeah.
But my question is, how has the industry changed? Has it become easier or harder, and how has the pandemic affected it?
Easier or harder in what way in terms of the industry?
I guess how easy or harder has it been to find jobs? And has it been, I guess mostly it's about finding jobs, and maybe like, has the industry become, because I know that the popularity, so it's a double-edged sword. On one end, when it's a little bit smaller, it's easier to find jobs, but when it's bigger, now everybody wants to do it. And so there's more competition.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what my question is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition, and rather than how it used to be where you had to be in New York or LA or Boston, the big markets, now you can be anywhere in the country and do it and be successful.
Yeah.
So there's definitely more of that, and things change, tastes change,
Right.
and younger people come up, and so it's definitely more challenging. As voiceover actors, we had to learn how to record ourselves, how to put ourselves on tape, how to edit ourselves, and how to submit ourselves. Because before, our agents did that, but during
Right.
COVID, we stopped going into
Right,
our
right,
agencies.
right.
So it's definitely different. I wouldn't say it's worse or better, but it's always going to be hard finding a job unless your name is Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
It's always going to be hard. You're always trying to get the next gig.
But you can't think that. It's like you're climbing on the sheer side of a cliff. If you're going and you one step at a time, and if you turn around and look behind you and you see how high it is, you'd freak out and fall. It's just like that. With voiceover work and acting work, you have to just focus on what it is that you want to do and don't think about the competition, and do your thing, and it'll work out the way it's supposed to work out. But you only have a shot at it if you don't freak out. You just have to stay in your zone and stay with what you can do, and don't worry about everybody else, I think.
It's what I said earlier. If it's your passion and it's what you want to do and devote your life to, then it doesn't matter what the competition is.
Exactly.
or how the industry's changing or any.
Yeah.
Everything has its challenges, and you just go for it. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm on this side.
Oh, that's okay. All right.
We'll keep it coming.
Okay.
We've got time for one more question after this one.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing?
I wanted to ask you, who's your favorite superhero out the Justice League, and why is it Batman?
That's funny. I got it.
Leading, very leading.
Outside of the Justice League, no, within the Justice League, I love Flash. I'm a big fan of Flash. I just love him. I love his character, and I love he's a fast runner.
I'd have to say I have a very soft spot for Jean.
Jean.
And I think so much of that is because Carl Lumley brought
Carl's-
so much to that character.
So great.
And I always felt like Diana and Jean had a very special rapport. But I also have a special place for Batman.
Yeah. That's right.
Good answers. Good answer.
Hi. So when you took on these roles, it wasn't just Superman and Wonder Woman you're taking on. It was this continuity that Bruce Timm and Paul Dini had going for years.
Yeah.
And I grew up on it. I was 3 years old when Batman started. So
Oh, wow.
I was 12 when Justice League started. So I had been following Batman, Superman, Batman Beyond all those years. So when Justice League started, it had been my whole life that to watch these cartoons was the same versions of the characters.
Right.
And so what was that like to jump in on that and to already have that history behind it?
I didn't look as a performer. I didn't want to look at what Tim did or what anybody else did. You just kind of have to focus on your own thing, and be mindful of Bruce and Andrea in the room, right? Whatever they told us to do. If you start to think about the style and the tone of what went before you, I think it would be debilitating. I didn't personally pay attention to that.
Yeah, I don't think we knew. Maybe Phil Lamar, who was a huge comic book fan and cartoon fan, but for most of us, we didn't recognize some of the legacy that came before. I knew Batman the Animated Series, but it wasn't something that I brought into the booth with me and thought about the continuity or is this canon or any of those things. We were educated on the job. I was learning about Wonder Woman and her story as I was doing it. And so, no, that wasn't like a burden or even baggage or anything like that. We just went in fresh, we really did.
One more question?
Well said.
Thank you.
Try to get at least one or two more.
Okay, yep.
So, not Justice League, more voice actor related.
Sure.
Was there ever an audition for a character that you wanted and didn't get, and you were like, man, I would have loved the opportunity to create my version of that character? Even though you might have loved what that actor did with the character, it's like, you know what, I have a really cool twist on that character that I would love to try out. And what character would that be?
When I was in college, I auditioned for a movie that I thought was pretty cool when I read the script, and they flew me out to LA to screen test for it. And I was just in theater. I didn't know anything about anything. And it happened to be a movie called Back to the Future. And they screen tested me. I was down to the last 3 people, and they had cast everyone else. You know, Crispin Glover, Leah Thompson, Christopher Lloyd. Everybody was on the set in their clothes with the sets built, and it was down to the last 3. And I did a 10-hour screen test. Obviously, didn't get it, and but I had a great time. And that was when I went back to my dorm room after 2 days in LA. I'd never even been to LA, and I was like, "What the hell was that?" And I got back in my dorm room, and I thought, "Okay, this is a great." I don't know what my twist would have been. It was just me, but I saw something that it was, wow, this is where I want to go when I graduate. I want to come to Los Angeles. I think I could do this. So that was my first taste of a job I really wanted but didn't get. Susan?
You know, this is going to sound corny, but I was a huge Scooby-Doo fan growing up. So I would have loved to have been part of the Wonder Woman and the Scooby-Doo crossover, the Justice League and the Scooby-Doo. Huh? I mean, I just would have loved it. And there have been a couple of Wonder Woman projects that I would have loved to have done over the years, I'll be honest. You know, but everything works out for a reason. And, you know, hopefully there'll be other things in the future, but the Scooby-Doo kind of broke my heart. Gotta be honest.
Last question. Oh.
Pressure at all, okay.
Hey.
No, just a personal opinion question.
Sure.
So there is the Justice League episode, Superman and Wonder Woman hash it out because they were trying to save Themyscira. Now my question is, because we both read the comics, well, who would win in a fight? Superman or Wonder Woman?
What was the question?
Who would fight between Superman or Wonder Woman?
Ooh. I don't know. Well,
I don't know. That's a great question.
That's a tough one. I think it would be emotional, and maybe Superman would back down because he didn't want to hurt her, but he would have to win because he's Superman. But I think it would be an emotional. It would probably let you win.
So you'd feel bad hitting a girl?
I'd feel bad. I'd
Is
let
that
you.
what
No,
you're
not
saying?
just because you're a girl. No, because Wonder Woman. There's some emotional stuff with Wonder Woman, and he just wouldn't want to have to deal with that later.
Yeah, you know,
so
I feel like we're brother and sister.
Yeah.
You know, in the league, and so I think
it would be more of a comedy fight.
Well, have you seen Injustice? So then you know.
It's like a comedy fight.
Then you know.
Yeah.
So now that we've gone through the crowd a little bit, what's a question that you wanted someone to ask but they didn't, and what would be the answer?
You got me. I'm empty. Come on, just you got to go. I can't think of anything at the moment.
It's interesting because somebody asked this question the other day, and you know, because we get asked a lot of the same questions, and they're great. And you know, you get them even though you've been asked it 100 times, it hasn't been from that person.
Right.
I'm just buying time now because I don't know the answer.
That's fair.
I think you guys hit it, man. That was a
good one.
That was an
Pretty
incredible
good.
question.
You covered a lot of bases.
Yeah.
Of course. One of the things that I would like to know. What was that? That's true.
But I feel like a lot of people ask about that, and I feel like most of the time, like I know I have something coming up that I can't talk about. So it's almost like it's frustrating.
Of course.
I did that Ragnarok thing on Netflix for the anime thing, and that was fun. I think it was. Yeah. And then I narrate a ton of audiobooks. I've narrated about 500 audiobooks, so you can go to Audible and Google my name. And I just did a TV thing for this streaming channel called Pureflix last week, and that'll be on, I guess, in a couple weeks. And then, just more of these, and day to day, man, I'm auditioning every day, so I never know.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
It's working man right there.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
That's right.
Okay, before we let you go back to your booths, and make sure you guys go visit them, get some
Yeah,
autographs.
come on down. Yeah.
My last question for you guys.
Yeah.
What is something that Wonder Woman and Superman has taught you, as they have taught us so many wonderful things?
I think for me, living in a world where there's a lot of seemingly relative truth, Superman has taught me to sort of try to stick to my core beliefs. When I get wishy-washy, I try to think of what Superman would do, and I try to sort of hone in on what I know to do is right.
Yeah, and I, on a daily basis, I will say, well, what would Diana do in these circumstances? and I try to move through life with the kind of poise and grace that she has, and maybe once a month I can do it, but I try every day.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
You try.
Yeah.
That's what true heroes
No,
do.
she has influenced me hugely in that regard.
I love it. Oh my God, that's so amazing. MEGACON, make some noise one more time.
Thank you.
George Newbern and Susan Eisenberg. Oh, wait. Don't move.
Wait, what?
Wonder Woman wants a picture.
Oh, get a picture. Okay, cool.
And when Wonder Woman wants a picture,
You
she
move,
gets a
you
picture.
take it. So, we're doing it.
Can I take it for you?